I'm Andrew.
And I'm Brandon.
We're Team SLYFOX.
And this is the making of. Okay, so how we came up with getting into the CG Tantra competition, the Visual Effects War. One day I had contacted Andrew and I said, you know, we haven't done anything in a while. Why don't we find something that we can try to use all of the skills that we have, compositing, modeling, animation, rendering, anything like that. And he pointed me in the direction. And how did you really find the...
Well, after you told me about that, I just got on Google and searched visual effects contest, and there was several different sites, and the one that caught my eye was the one that had the District 9 theme. So I clicked on the link and went to the CG Tantra's site and looked at all the details and whatnot, and then checked out the footage that they had, and immediately got back with Brandon and posted the link to his Facebook wall, and didn't hear back from him for about a day, and then he said, dude, let's do this. So that's basically how we got into it.
Okay, so my insight into my education and some background about me. My junior year of high school, I went to West Washington High School in Indiana, southern Indiana. And my junior year I joined BPA. One of the reasons, because Andrew had done so well in the past. Andrew was 2 years older than me and 2 grades above me. So when I was a freshman, I saw his work when he was a junior, and when I was a sophomore, I saw his work as a senior. And we have a BPA chapter here at our school. Our advisor being Mr. Darryl Myers kind of led us through video production and really got our start that way. And then as a senior, I got my highest rank in competition besides CG Tantra. I got second in the nation for BPA, for digital media production. So I've always been tinkering and working with visual effects and After Effects. And I started out using Premiere, but now I'm using Final Cut. So that was kind of my background into how I got started.
I'm kind of just like Brandon there. I started out in my 8th grade year in school. I'd started tinkering around with Photoshop, and then that led to interest into other Adobe products, and I discovered After Effects, and that's where it all really began as far as compositing goes, and it's just grown from there. And then just like he had done, I was in the BPA chapter in my sophomore year, and we went to state, got 4th place in state. We didn't make it to nationals the first year, but the second year we went to state again, and we took 1st place in the video production competition and went to nationals, but unfortunately we didn't make it in 1st place, but it was a great experience nonetheless. As far as my education goes now, I'm currently enrolled into Full Sail University as a computer animation bachelor's degree program, and in my 2nd year as of now, and it's going along great, and that's basically how everything's been going so far. So.
And right now I'm going to Purdue in New Albany, Indiana to get a bachelor's degree in computer graphics technology. So where I want to see myself in about 5 years, it's working for a studio, and I know Andrew feels the same. This is kind of our passion, what we've always wanted to do, and what we always have done basically in high school as a hobby, since we knew we could really make this happen.
My first initial thought when I saw the footage was wow, basically, because of how shaky the footage was. I knew this is going to be a very big task for us in post, because whenever you get footage like that and there's so much motion blur, it's kind of like your first thought's like, this is going to be impossible. And then that leads you to think ahead of what you're doing, which essentially leads to increased education and skill set. So
yeah, I thought the city of Mumbai was a great place to have this contest at, just because of it was really great to see a world city like that instead of like stock footage from like DC or New York. You know, you see a lot of just stock footage pulled from the internet. For CG Tantra to actually go out and shoot the footage in Mumbai, and also the quality of the camera and everything, it worked out great. But the motion blur problems from the shaking was very hard to deal with. But we enjoyed reviewing the footage.
Yep.
Okay, so what challenges did we face when integrating with the live action with our CG. Tracking was our biggest problem. When I took it into Match Mover, I had some problems there, and I found some problems later in After Effects trying to use a 3D camera that I exported from Match Mover. I think we really could have just used After Effects a lot and just kind of depended on that a lot more than trying to have a 3D camera, just because it was hard to, in Match Mover, establish a ground plane for everything. That was the hardest, just because of the way the street was going down the middle of the footage. So that was probably the biggest and hardest thing for me. But.
Yeah, basically. As far as integrating all the elements, it wasn't really a big deal. It's just your basic go and do type of thing. Lighting was partly an issue because it has an overcast sky, so that kind of led to different things. And that also increased render times, because when you got overcast, you don't have any direct lighting that you can just use. You got the light that bounces from the ground, and then you got light overhead from coming everywhere. So creating a sky dome in Maya to simulate an overcast was a challenge for me, really. And then essentially, we thought, you know, if you look on there, we had that big sun on there, and then it does the exposure thing. We added that so we could actually add some direct light to add some taste to the footage.
Mm-hmm. To give it just a little more dimension to the mothership. You know, just to make it a little more interesting. It did have a little more contrast than what it needed, but also that was trying to bring the film more alive from the gray tones. There was a lot of mid-tones in the footage, so when we were looking at color correction, we didn't really want to add a lot of contrast to the footage. We wanted to keep it how it was when we first got it.
Some do's and don'ts while in a contest like this: do not procrastinate. Don't put it off because you say, okay, well, we can just do this tomorrow, because you can't. You'll end up like me and him. We were up that last night before the first initial entry due date, and we were up till about 5:30 in the morning. Both of us had to get up at 7:30, and we didn't fall asleep till about 6, I think, because it was so hot in there anyway. But that's one of the major things that I think a lot of people should take to heart whenever you're working on something like this, is deadline, and you've got to really spread yourself. Don't spread yourself too thin when you're doing this.
Yeah, and your level of commitment has to be at whatever it takes. You know, you can't have this kind of contest and be looking at getting high entry, first, second, third, and just think you're going to wing it, or call up your partner and say, hey, you wanna come over and we'll do this, and put it off for something else. So you really need to take this seriously. And I would say the do's in a contest like this: storyboard, planning,
pre-production,
write a script. I mean, you don't really have to put in go into real detail, but just have what you want on paper. You don't have to type it, just write it out, scribbles, anything to get your thoughts onto paper, and then present that to your partner or whoever you're working with. So storyboarding and planning, do's. Definitely. Also, just take the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about modeling or whatever you have your weakness in, lighting and rendering, things like that. So me and Andrew, when we first sat down, because we entered the contest a little bit late. I think it was
3 weeks late.
3 weeks late?
It had to be at least 2 or more.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was, and it definitely wasn't August 1st. We can tell you that. It definitely wasn't August 1st. But when we first looked at the thread, it was probably a week or 2 weeks, like he said. And we were pretty intimidated. There were some really good entries, and we almost didn't enter. We almost thought that we wouldn't have enough time, or that our skills weren't up to par, but we just finally sat down and just talked it out, and we're like, okay, let's just do this and try to be committed whatever it takes to, place first, second, or third, because this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives, so why not just try and enter this big competition. So we did, and as the contest progressed, we saw other people progress, obviously, and that was our motivation, basically, was seeing the other entries and how well they were doing and trying to stay up to par with them. There was a lot of people that was tracking and had a lot of really good tracks.
Oh, yeah.
First off,
I was kind of skeptical whether we should keep going.
Yeah, and that's probably my weakest point in After Effects, and motion tracking is just probably one of my weakest points. And seeing their tracks, you know, people were using Nuke, and we didn't have access to Nuke, or there was another one that other people were using that was really great. I can't think of it now.
I don't know.
But we were really intimidated by other people's tracks, honestly, and a lot of the models looked really good. A lot of the clay renders that people were posting.
Definitely that.
So yeah, we were really intimidated by the other people's entries, and when it came out and when it came time, the people that did stick through the contest and have a final entry did really well. We were really impressed by everyone. There were some really innovative ideas, things that we would never even thought of, that really came into play in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the contest. It was really awesome to see other people's entries. I think that's the funnest part of doing stuff like this, just to see other people's ideas.
Yep. You can learn off of others, basically.
Yeah, you can really gain a lot of inspiration from the things that the other people were posting. I thought it was awesome. Really great.
The main thing that really went through my mind when we were working on this project was to keep it connected to the theme. Don't veer off from it. There was a lot of entries, and I'm not saying any of them were bad. I'm just saying a lot of ideas veered off the District 9 theme, which I think that's what really killed them in the contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So, I think when someone, no matter if you're working or if it's just freelance, what you are handed is what you should follow. You know, sometimes going out of the box doesn't necessarily mean completely changing the theme, but going out of the box and thinking in a different direction with the theme in mind. We always wanted District 9 to be present, so when anyone was going to watch our entry, they could tell that, okay, this looks like District 9. This is something, you know, maybe a sequel to District 9, and that was always our top priority. Andrew and I would first like to thank the judges for taking the time out of their schedule to actually examine all the footage. And also CG Tantra, just thank you guys for all the hosting and the social networking possibilities you guys have on your site. Everything looks great. It's really easy to navigate, and it's really easy to view all the forums. So, I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this interview, so.
As far as the VFXWAR contest goes, we had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. We had a great time together, and we can't wait for the second one.
Yep, number 2, definitely going to be in that one. So it looks like from some of the forums I've saw, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean would be the next VFXWAR. So hopefully that'd be really fun to do. I think we need definitely on board for that. So if you'd like to contact me, my email will be in this forum, along with maybe a link to my Facebook. I'm always looking to network with other people, with other professionals, and just kind of grow and learn and inspire other people.
Just like Brandon said, you can contact me the same way. I'll post my Facebook link in the forum, and we'll put some other contact options in the video credits as well.
This concludes our video interview for Revisiting District 9, the first visual effects war on cgtantra.com. Thanks to all the judges and CG Tantra for hosting this competition.
See you next time.